Morning, 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 and welcome to, well, a fairly clear-skied Djuma game reserve. It seems as though we're going to have a situation where it's going to be nice and clear and probably really quite warm a little bit later in the day. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera today I've got Jean-Dre, and Rixon will once again be our security detail as we engage on our bushwalk for the morning. Now, it is going to be an interesting morning. After a bit of rain, I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of growth of plants and various other things, as well as maybe see some insects that are out and about, given that we're going to have a bit of sunshine. Hopefully that will encourage a few insects to be crawling. So it should be a very good morning. Now remember, it is interactive, it is live, so you can use hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat should you would want to ask any questions or just engage with us in any way. It would be lovely to hear from all of you, so remember, that's the platforms to get hold of us. Now my plan for this morning, I think Rex and I are going to go and try and see if, and Jean-Dre are going to try and see if we can track down Shadow and Cub, see how they've fared during the night, whether they may be still on that kill, maybe they got something back of it. Otherwise, we're going to head down towards Treehouse Dam and see what else we can find. But before we get down that way, I want to just quickly go and check on our Senegal lapwing chicks, or eggs should I say. The chicks haven't hatched just yet, so the lapwing is just up ahead here, and there's a little nest that it's sitting on, and there are 3 little eggs there. Now, Jean-Dre says he found a nest somewhere else, not too far from here, so maybe we'll do a little Lapwing Nest check to start our day, and that should be quite entertaining and quite interesting to see what's going on. I'm keen to kind of keep following these lapwings and see how these chicks develop. It's a really interesting species. I was reading up a bit about it last night. Their nesting and the way that they nest is quite interesting. They have these 3 to 4 eggs that they'll lay, and they normally are incubating for about 27 to 28 days. After that, the chick then hatches, and you find a situation where the chick will leave the nest within 48 hours. So once the down feathers are dry, the chick is walking around, and the adults then lead them to food. And the primary food source would be termites, which is really quite interesting. And it makes sense that they are living in these kind of areas where there's lots of termites and lots of different insects that they can find on quarantine. Now, you see these impalas are quite interesting. I believe a lot of you are saying good morning and you're happy to see us on Bushwalk. Now, just looking at these impalas, it was quite interesting because generally impalas at the start of the day would be on these open clearings, then moving down in towards these thicker areas to start feeding as the sun comes up. But this morning already it's light enough that they were already in thickets as we started. But you can see without disturbance, their default go-to position is back onto the open clearing where they can see a lot better. They also then utilize termite mounds to try and get a little bit of height. And now you can see a male that's just causing absolute havoc. Oopsie. So you can see what happens when the young boys are inside the herd and he perceives them to be a threat. He's come in, storming in, and chased all of the young males away. Sorry, Jean-Dre, I'm in your shot there a little bit. But he's chased all of the young males away. Now he's just separating all of his females and young males apart, trying to get them all into one place and then push them back again. And what he seems to have managed to do, though, is just scatter everybody in about 40 directions. And now he's going to trot off after the last female. Or is it a female? Yes, it is a female. There we go. No, young male as well. It's being taught who's boss, but it's amazing the speed that they can cover, and there we go. He's now successfully managed to chase every single impala away from him, which I'm not sure what the reason would be for that. Very odd. Like I said, I think it initially started with young males, but it seems as though things have gone a bit pear-shaped since then. Right, we're going to carry on and try and find that nest quickly. I'm just going to head in that direction. Hopefully we won't disturb any bird that is there. And while we do that, Noelle is also out and about, and she's rearing to go and wants to say good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful morning. We're out a half an hour earlier, which makes me smile because it's just before the sun's risen and the temperature is perfect, and we're tracking lions. I am Noelle, and on camera I have Senzo. There's the 3 fingers. Hello, Senzo. So I believe, if I remember correctly, it's about 22 Celsius, would be about, what is that, 61, 71, Kirst? 71, there we go. I'll get this down one day, these conversions. Okay, so we are following up on the Sticks Pride. Remember that this is an interactive safari. We are live. You can follow us on #SafariLive on the Twitter or on the YouTube chat. So basically what's happened is Sens and I have come around and we've come to Treehouse Dam, and we could see where the little ones were playing and lying down and then moving up and down. So we're, as usual, circling the block just to see what we can find, see if they kept coming this way. If they have, fantastic. If not, we're going to head back towards Treehouse Dam and then Twin Dams. We're still debating about where we think they are. They definitely were hunting. They were so hungry last night for anyone that watched the show. And if you remember from yesterday, they left the 4 very, very, very small cubs at the dam for them to go hunting. Now, as far as the crow flies, where we are from where they left the little ones to here is not very far. And last night after the show wrapped, when we were on our way home, there's a lot of wildebeest. There was some zebra early in the day. There's things for them to eat. I know that they enjoy especially a pride that size is going to enjoy a larger species, so giraffe, buffalo, full-grown zebra, wildebeest, but again, because they have many little mouths to feed, they might go for something that's a little bit smaller, just as an amuse-bouche, an aperitif. So let's keep heading out. Oh, the sunrise is going to be beautiful, and when it does come up, we will definitely show you. Okay. So we're also heading into the area where Tristan was yesterday evening and where James and I were in the morning, where Shadow and her youngster had that impala kill that the hyenas ended up stealing. Everything needs to eat. So it's possible, although it wasn't very warm yesterday, but it is possible that the lions got interested in that, and their general tracks is in this direction. So we're gonna check it out, as I said before. Hello, little quail. I'm gonna try and get you this little quail before it goes away. We might just be able to. And no, he's gone off into the bushes. These little button quails, let me find it in the book for you so long. Ooh, hello, insect friend. Today is a odd morning. Because we've started a little bit earlier, we're all still getting used to our new morning times, as I'm sure all of you at home are getting used to them as well. So basically these little guys are meant for camouflage. So you'll see them flying off when you're walking. You'll also see them just sort of scurrying across the road like we saw now. This is the one that came across the road here. It did look like the male, for what I could very briefly see, but honestly the male and the female look so similar that you never know. This little guy down here is easier to tell. This is the harlequin quail. So the common quail is also known as a hurricane quail, button quail, and then we get the harlequin quail down here. The male is obviously very different from the female. My first sighting, I've heard them before, but my first sighting of this one was this year. I enjoy them. This little guy here, I constantly am looking for their eggs. They like to put their eggs, they're tiny, tiny, tiny little things like this, and they like to put them in areas like where they just went off now. But I have yet to find them. I have been caught out on quite the occasion. They make a sound that's really similar to wild dog calls, so that hoo, hoo, especially on winter mornings when the sound is traveling farther. They do catch me out every now and then. I have to stop and triple check. Another good reason for stopping like we did now for those birds is to stop and listen to what's going on. You never know, you might get lion or leopard or hyena calls or wild dog calls, depending. Tristan has some eggs of his own that he would like to show you, so let's head over to him and we'll be back in a bit.
Well, we do have the eggs, so we managed to find the nest again, and the lapwings themselves weren't really present. They were kind of just walking off in the distance, and so we haven't really disturbed anything by being here. And now I'm just sitting and seeing how relaxed the lapwings will actually be. I see one of the adults has just landed nearby, has just landed on our left-hand side here, and is busy just walking around. And this is exactly what they did yesterday when I was here with the vehicle, is that they kind of do this loop around you, and they go from side to side and slowly angle their way in. And I reckon if we sit here for long enough, this lapwing might be relaxed enough to actually come all the way back to its eggs and sit on it like what we saw yesterday. And I'm intrigued to just see if they are that way, or if they just will not draw attention to the nest itself and they'll walk away from us. Because most of the lapwings, so the crowned lapwings in particular, would never be this relaxed with people near their eggs or around their sort of nest area. They would be feigning injury, dive bombing, causing quite a lot of a scene, whereas these guys tend to be quite quiet. They're just sitting around us and they're bobbing their heads and moving and slowly coming towards their eggs. And I'm interested to see if that sort of drive to come and sit on them is there, and because it's quarantine and we are in a situation where there's lots of vehicles that pass and lots of people that even walk past here, I think these little lapwings are just so used to it that they just don't really bother too much with it. It is quite amazing though to watch. It's completely different behavior than what we see from the crowned lapwings, and even the blacksmiths. They would also be a lot more feisty about being anywhere near them. So these guys are just watching. And what also is interesting with them is that you'll find a situation where both male and female are incubating their eggs, and I believe that they take about 40 minutes each to sit on their eggs. Once they've all sat for about 40 minutes, then they will get up and go off to feed, and obviously then the other adult comes in and incubates them as well. So if these are very new, which I suspect they're not that old, I suspect these are only from probably maybe 4 or 5 days old, and if they are, then we've still got a while to go until they hatch. But I really would love to be here if they did hatch. It would be so amazing to see these little eggs and these tiny little chicks moving around. But there we go, that's a beautiful view that we've got of this one, a nice low angle. It's a different perspective to be this low with the Senegal lapwing. They are actually beautiful birds. If you look, they've got that white chest or white sort of rump area, and then they've got that little band across the chest, those grey wings, and this beautiful yellow eye that is on the face. And between male and female, very difficult to tell the sexes. In fact, it's almost impossible. So it's not something that we can do very easily. But like I say, we're just sitting here, and you can see that lapwing is really very close already. It's much closer than I would have thought this lapwing would have come. Normally birds are quite shy of us, but it's moving within, I would say, not even 10 meters of where we are, and just kind of checking us out and going round and round us. And I eventually think it will come all the way to the eggs itself and settle down right across from us. I mean, the eggs are probably 2 meters away, but we're just sitting because we didn't want to make too much of a presence of ourselves. And if we sit like this, we are reducing that sort of profile and making ourselves far less assertive or far less sort of aggressive towards what's going on. So Anna-Marie, you were saying you never understand why lapwings would pick vulnerable areas, especially something like this right next to the road. Well, I mean, it's each to their own, but remember that a lapwing is incredibly clever about the way that it lays its eggs. If you look from here and you don't know that those eggs are here, it's almost impossible to see these eggs. It really is very, very difficult. These eggs are completely camouflaged, and like I say, I mean, if you didn't know, in fact, I was walking with Rex and I pointed them out, and Rex didn't see them until I actually showed him exactly where. So he didn't pick them up at all, and so most predators will walk right past that without even knowing. Once they're born, or hatch should we say, you'll find that these little eggs, or the little ones, are able to move around fairly quickly and escape danger, and they'll run around with the adults fairly fast. And so it's a situation where they don't really need to be in a nest. At the end of the day, they can manage just fine on the ground like this. But yes, their eggs are susceptible to various things like elephants or other animals that potentially run around here. We just saw the impalas now having a running around session, and it's easily one of those could have stood on these eggs. So it is a bit of a danger that takes place. But you'll find that these guys do breed quite often. Apparently they can breed twice in a season, which means that their numbers do escalate quite quickly. And so we have a situation where even if they lose eggs, they're able to produce more again. So pretty amazing stuff. I really am quite fascinated by these these lapwings, particularly the Senegal lapwings. And it's amazing, like I say, that Chandra managed to find a nest not too far from us here, and that we have 2 different nests together in the same area. And I wonder what's going to happen when the chicks hatch, if they're going to be able to move around each other, or if there's going to be a lot of territorial kind of going at one another, trying to sort of sort each other out as we kind of figure out what's going on. Right, and I think the little one is away from us, so I think we're going to probably just leave this nest, because I don't want to leave their eggs without anybody. So we're going to just try and get up. Now, Debbie, I'm sorry, I just wanted to get up there and not disturb things too much, so I missed the question. Kirst, if you can just repeat that for me. So Debbie, you're wondering how long the lapwings can be away before the eggs are in danger. Well, obviously that depends on the individual itself, well, the eggs itself and the ambient temperature that is around. If it's a very cold morning, we're going to have a situation where those eggs are going to lose temperature very, very quickly, and they're going to need to get onto them quite fast. If it's a warmish day like today, then they've got a lot more time to be able to spend and to settle and to be able to kind of get themselves back to the eggs to keep them nice and warm. So that time frame depends on ambient temperatures and conditions around them. Also, in terms of safety wise, the adults are never going to fly far, so both adults are around us. The one adult was on that side. I don't know where it's gone. Now, I'm not sure if we can just go and check quickly. I see both adults have actually flown away when we stood up, so we'll quickly have a little look at the eggs themselves so I can show you properly and you can see what they are. Like I said, I don't want to disturb too much, so I'm not going to go too close, but we'll end up in a situation where we can see them from here. But it's amazing to see you got the three little eggs together, and you can actually see the camouflage, like I was saying just now, and how well they're camouflaged. Also, you can see how this nest has been constructed. So even though it just looks like a little pile of kind of nothingness on the ground, you'll notice there's a slight depression. Now that depression is either going to be a footprint of an animal, so they'll use things like wildebeest or buffalo or something like that, and they'll make a little depression out of the footprint, and then they sit down with their bellies and they rub with their bellies, and that makes a little hollow depression. They then take sticks and grass and rocks and all kinds of other things, and they pack it and line it in there so that the egg matches that area absolutely perfectly. It's quite amazing to see the work that goes into these things. So I think in terms of safety, the adults will keep these chicks as safe as they can. Like I say, they will feign injury, they will try and lead these kind of other predators away. So if you get jackals or civets or genets or something like that, they'll make a lot of noise, attract attention to themselves, and get out of there. Right, well, we're going to carry on. We're going to go try and see what we can find from Shadow and Cub. While we do that, I believe Noelle is on the search for the larger cat that we get in this area, and hopefully she'll have some luck.
Okay, so we've picked up on their definite tracks. I wouldn't say it's from right now, I would say it's from early this morning / last night. But what you can see beautifully here is where a lion was lying down. So this is where the tail would have been, and the butt end. Here are the haunches, okay? And then the front end of the lion, the belly of the lion here. And then where it stood up, and they've all started walking down. Then that would have been a full-grown lion. Then just down here would have been a smaller lion. And you can actually see from the tracks when they're walking, stopping, where all the little ones are playing around. Over here, you can see where they're crouching a little bit, and then sliding, and then moving. And they're basically in the middle of the road, wandering down. So, still on the hunt. And then Sens and I saw now. Oh, sorry, we're having problems with my microphone. Let's head over to Tristan, and then we'll be back soon.
Well, yeah, seems a few gremlins have crept in for poor Noelle, and hopefully she'll get them sorted out fairly shortly. I'm sure she will. She seems to be very competent in the art of getting gremlins off the vehicle. It's one thing that you learn quickly as a guide here at Safari Live, is how to deal with the gremlin problem. Tayla, of course, has probably got the best one. She's got her dance. Maybe she can do one for us this morning when she gets going. They will be getting going a little bit later this morning, and so she'll hopefully have some sort of remedy for our gremlin issues from that side of the world. But now we're just ambling along, trying to see if we can find this other nest. But before we get there, you can actually see something really quite cool. This is something that we don't see that often, but you'll see that there's these deep grooves that are in the ground, and it almost looks as though somebody like Wolverine or somebody with claws has come in and kind of scraped forward. What this is actually from is from a wildebeest. Alright, so the wildebeest male has come here and he's scraped in order to mark territory, as well as to get soil up that he can then rub his face and his horns in. So you can actually see these are the 2 points of the hoof. He's scraped towards the middle, and again on this side, and this way, and this way, and he's caused a bit of clump of sand here. There you can see see his feet in amongst all of it, and then what he'll do is sometimes he'll kneel down and just grind his face into this and pack this damp soil onto his head and onto his horns, and all that does is basically it just makes those horns appear larger, it keeps them in good condition, and it serves to be a territorial marking to any other wildebeest that comes here. So if another male wildebeest moved into this area, it would see this scraping, pick up the scent. They have a lot of glands in their face that they're leaving a scent in this particular spot, and they'll know, okay, there's a territorial male in this area. But these are really nice defined scrapings from a wildebeest. You don't often see it as well as this, but given that we had a bit of rain, these wildebeest obviously scraped quite a bit last night. It looks like from last night, given that the tracks themselves have absolutely no rain on them. I suppose we didn't get much rain yesterday, did we, Jandre? No rain yesterday, so maybe it was from the night before, but they look fairly fresh and the soil's very damp from where they're actually scraping up. Now, Jandre said he thinks the Lapwing Nest, the other one, is somewhere close by, so we're going to try and see if we can find it. As I was saying just now, they are incredibly well camouflaged, these eggs, and so you have a situation where you kind of walk blindly and you just try and sort of spot the little clumps of vegetation together that might indicate that you've got some sort of a nest or some sort of a kind of, I don't know, dwelling that is there, if you want to call it that, and it's not easy to pick up at all. You've got to really kind of search. The other thing is I don't particularly want to be standing on eggs in the morning and doing any sort of damage to them, so trying to watch out as carefully as I can. Jandre, how far were they? These... Other side, okay, so we've got to... Alright, so there we go. So Jandre says we've got a termite mound with a stick in it, which is always a wonderful sort of landmark because that makes life a lot easier if you can find one of those, and that's a very prominent part of this particular section. So I'm going to just try and see if we can find anything. It is an absolutely beautiful day though. It's absolutely wonderful conditions. There goes our wildebeest. So we were talking about wildebeest just now. They're busy running across the plains, and that's because Rex is just walking a little bit ahead of us, and you can see they're kind of moving along. So Rex will probably have just disturbed them a little bit, much like what we would have as well. Now, James, you're asking if these conditions would be right to see a giant African land snail. So, James, 2 nights ago, when did we have the rain? 2 nights ago, I did actually see a massive individual, and I saw another one last night. So, maybe this morning we'll be lucky and we'll be able to find one. I'm going to try and check for tracks around for you, but I think we may be able to find some sort of sign for them, or maybe even the lion snails themselves. I know that you have been looking for them. Right, I'm going to try and look for this little nest. It's somewhere in this general vicinity. Here's the termite mound with the stick, and so let's go back across to Noelle while I do that. Hopefully her audio is better, hopefully the gremlins are gone, and I'm sure she'll be able to tell you all about it.
Hi. Yes, my audio is better. I'm really sorry about that. We wear these little strap things, and when I was busy moving my body around to show you tracks, the little antenna went boop. So we're back. Okay, so good news is we still have the tracks. You can see them here. Lots of young males, remember we talked about yesterday. The sad news is if we walk this way, after Sen shows you that tracks, and we come over here, we can't drive here. So this is our boundary, and they've headed straight this way. But something that Senzo noted was that one of the male's tracks have gone off. He possibly has just, well, the big male, I should say, he's possibly just gone around for scent marking, but he's possibly moved up in to do a bit of territorial marking. If you were with us the other morning when it was rainy and cold, we were following 2 male tracks, and the Birminghams are 3. So it is possible that he's gone off to join brothers. His 2 brothers did go in here. Look, there's a lot of scenarios that could happen. So this whole road that we're going to do now and then cut in, this is where the other 2 Birminghams went in, and also the wild dogs keep coming in and out and in and out. So sadly we won't be able to see the sticks again this morning. Maybe they'll come back, you never know. I'm really happy we got to see them last night with those tiny little cubs. That was super special. So we're going to carry on up and see, maybe the wild dogs come in, maybe we pick up on this male. And then we'll cut back in and see what we can do, possibly for Shadow and her youngster. Or, it's going to be a beautiful day for birding. It's going to be nice and warm. There's hardly a cloud in the sky. It's going to be lovely. All right. Let me just get resituated. So in our midst of tracking, we missed our sunrise, but we can see the after effects now through the trees quite nicely. There we are. Ooh, sorry. Curse is telling me there's actually 4 Birmingham boys. I'm very sorry. I thought it was 3. Thank you so much, Curse. Again, everybody, I'm still learning about all of our coalitions and prides here, so if I ever state something that is not what it should be, just give me a shout and say, hey, Noelle, it's this and this and this, and I welcome any extra information. Can we hear the Can we hear the bird noises, Cursed? Can we hear the hyena? Okay, we have hornbills and we have babblers calling. We also had a crested barbet calling, and then just in the background there was the whoop, whoop of hyena. Earlier when we were tracking the lion tracks, there was some hyena tracks around, and I was getting very hopeful, and then a zebra walked past who was way too relaxed. So unfortunately the hunting action did not occur with us. But there's other lions, there's other cats, and there's also other things to see other than cats. You know I just really like lions a lot. Okay, so also Crested Franklin's going nutty. Everyone's saying good morning, good morning, good morning. Alright everyone, don't forget, you can ask us questions, and we are interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter and the YouTube chat. You can ask us questions. We love them. The soil on this road is really nice for tracking, especially after it's rained, and now there's been a little bit of movement from other vehicles. So we're gonna pick up some nice things, hopefully. We had those beautiful aardvark tracks yesterday. I know that Tayla saw white-tailed mongoose. Just stand by a second, everybody. Don't want to lose you. I know that Tayla saw white-tailed mongoose in the Mara. We also get white-tailed mongoose here. If I can find those tracks, those are very, very nice tracks. Ooh, Tristan has some more eggs. He's having an egg morning. Tristan, are you broody? Let's link over and see what he has.
Not at all. I just get fascinated by birds' eggs and the way that they look, the camouflage, and all the different types of eggs that we get in order to suit the function that they need to provide. So it's always nice to come across them. It's a sign of new things to come. It's been a summer of wonderful little discoveries, and, well, these just continue. So this is the other nest that Jean-Ray found, and we were all around it. It is amazing how well they camouflage. And you can get a nice size sort of element to it. If you look at the impala droppings, or the little balls of impala dung right next to those eggs, it gives you an idea of just how small these eggs are and how well they do camouflage. So it is an incredible thing to see, and it's amazing to watch them, and we'll just have to keep monitoring them every day. But I don't want to spend too long with the eggs themselves. Like I say, at the end of the day, the adult must be at some point stressing about the fact that we're somewhere close to the eggs, so let's rather not stick around for too long. The thing is with these eggs, what amazes me is that I was just saying to Jean-Ray, is that these Senegal lapwings tend to be so much more relaxed than what we see from the crowned lapwings. Crowned lapwings, if you were this close to a nest, you would have them going up and dive bombing you and making a lot of noise. They'd also be running around with their wings hanging down, pretending as though they are in sort of some way injured or something like that. And so it really is in a very different attitude that the Senegal lapwings have. They just sit and watch you and kind of rely on their camouflage of their eggs to be able to sort of do the business, and for them to be able to get out of that area, or you to get out of that area, without actually finding the nest itself. It really is quite something to be able to see. So I see you're all right, Jean-Ray, don't stress. So Jean-Ray is just trying to avoid falling over trees and various other little things that could be around. You might just be careful of the termite mound behind you. I didn't do it. I haven't had a run-in on Bushwalk yet. Actually, I have. I had a black mamba once on Bushwalk. That was very, very cool, but it was all curled up in the top of a tree not too far from here, and it was amazing to watch. It had this big full belly, and the birds were all bombing it, and Herbie actually spotted it. But the other day I was walking from camp to Inga's, which is just on behind me over here, and I was walking along and I saw the snake track on the road, and I thought, well, that looks really fresh, considering that I drove here at some stage in the morning, and kind of looked up into the marula tree next to me, and there was this little spotted bush snake just staring at me at eye level. I got a bit of a fright at first, because you just see these eyes and a slithering serpent next to you, and you kind of wonder which one it is. But as soon as I saw the little spots on its head and the shape of it, it was really quite fine, and it was quite nice to actually see this little bush snake. And they are harmless to us. They're not going to do anything. They obviously hunt a lot of arboreal species, so birds and those kind of things, but to us as humans, we don't have to worry about them at all. And we just sat there, and I kind of stared at the snake stared at me, and we just had a little moment, and then off we went. And so that wasn't too bad. And then on a lot of tracking sort of missions that I've done, or when walking around looking for all of these cats and various other things, you do bump into snakes from time to time. I've bumped into a lot of puff adders. I almost actually got bitten by a puff adder once. We were walking along, and it was around the 2012 flood period, and so there was no sort of short grassy areas anywhere at that stage. Most of the grass was about this tall. It was a kind of waist high or taller, and I was walking along, and we were tracking, I can't even remember who it was. I think it might have even been Mvula, and we were tracking Mvula around in Koro, and we were walking along, and as I stood, I just kind of heard this hissing by my feet, and I looked down, and there was a puff adder probably at the distance that this elephant dung is from my foot, and it kind of then, as I lifted my foot away, it struck out towards my foot, and luckily didn't get any contact, but it definitely took a deep breath after that and decided that was the end of my tracking. But I have found something of interest here that is just got its head down a hole, and I actually don't know quite what it is. So Jean-Andre, if you have a look here, it looks like a cockroach species of some sort. So there it is. It's just starting to go down and under, and it's moving into this little hole, but it's got this bright black and yellow spotted back to it with this kind of white tip on the edges here. So yeah, I don't actually really know what this is. At first I thought it might be a whip scorpion that was inside there, but it looks as though it's some kind of cockroach species. I'm not 100% sure at all. I'm going to try and see if I can get some sort of visual of it, at least the head, so that I can see exactly what it is. But that's very interesting. It's the first time I've seen one in a little hole like this, and I'm not 100% sure what it's doing inside there, but we'll just sit there here for a little bit and have a look. And while we do that, it sounds like McTardy is up and running and is into the show. Of course, they are starting a little bit later due to their gate times, but she has already found lots of interesting things, and I'm sure you'll love every bit of it.
Oh, Tristan, don't get grumpy because you burnt your roast potatoes. Good morning, everybody. Buffalo, hyenas, blue and gloomy skies this morning. It's also a little bit windy and a bit chilly out here in the Mara Triangle. Good morning, my name is Tayla, and on camera with me today is Jahawi. I don't know why I did that. I just thought I'd just go with it. Did you like that or not really? Should I try something different for your intro, Jah? You'll get used to me. Remember, this is live, this is interactive, and we're starting a little bit later, which is nice. You get our beauty sleep, although it's not any difference, really. Remember to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can chat to us via the YouTube chat. Now, we've got quite an interesting scene down below. It's buffalo and hyena, and I heard these hyena the entire evening. They were, well, making all sorts of strange, interesting noises. I'm not sure what got them so excited. Maybe they were fighting over some small scraps, but they don't seem to be too fat, or that one does. You do, yes, girl. They're not very pretty animals, eh? I find the hyena in the Sabi sand to be a lot more attractive in terms of the attractiveness level of a hyena, except for Gwen. And I'm sorry for all the Gwen fans out there, but we must be honest, we mustn't sugarcoat things sometimes. This is, of course, wild, this is real. And Gwen scares me a little bit, especially when she runs through the Sabi sand camp and she's looking at you and she's salivating. She's the most bizarre looking hyena ever. If you have got a picture of Gwen, and for those new viewers, please share it so that they can see exactly what I'm talking about. And there they go. Well, the buffalo aren't bothered by the hyenas. You can see they really don't care. Especially a fully grown buffalo bull is not really on the menu for a hyena. A hyena will get a hiding if it does try to go for a fully grown buffalo youngster, which we've seen In many cases, it does happen, they will try and go for them. But they've got to be quite careful about how they go about it, like lions, because if they get themselves caught underneath the horns and the feet of the buffalo, they probably won't make it out alive. But a very nice sighting. They'll probably go back. They're always up here, these hyena. And I wonder if they're not the ones that come and visit and camp, although I suppose there's many dens all over the triangle. So we could have some that are denning up at the top too. We don't really see the hyenas in camp. We hear them. I've seen them run past and I've seen their tracks through camp, but they don't spend a lot of time like the hyenas and the Sabi sand do. Right, what else have we got going on here? Good morning. Are you standing in your own urine? That's nice. Look at this one. Are you keeping your feet warm? Yes, that was him. That is not from the rain. And he's now standing in it. Does that feel good? He's looking over at the other hyena, looking back at us. Looking back at the hyena. Are you going to look back at us again? I think they're planning on going home. So it looks like 3 adults and 1 sub-adult. Look, there's the sub-adult over there, and that one actually looks like quite dirty. I wonder if it's a bit of blood that's on its face and on its neck. It just looks a little bit rust-like. No, you're quite clean actually. You're not too dirty. You just got a lovely dark coat. You've got a bit of ginger coming out around the neck and around the head. Cursed, if you're a hyena, you'd be this one. That's the director that I'm talking to. I'm going to get into trouble now. Okay, in that case, let's keep going. Bye, hyena. Sleep well. See you tonight. Kirsty's just exclaimed, yay, at the thought that she could be a ginger hyena. I think you could be one of the leucistic hyenas though, Kirsty, because they look more like blonde, strawberry blonde than anything. This is quite nice. Okay, where are we going to go? I think we might try and follow up on those Chitwa males, the triangle boys from last night. So I think we could head into the marsh again and do a bit of a tree line search. And hopefully we'll see some cool birds. You know, we've always got a list of birds to tick off this morning too. But while I get all the way down to the far east, it seems as though Tristan is chatting up a creature called Mildred with lots and lots of legs.
I am, Tayla. I'm sitting chatting to Mildred. We're having a morning talk as to how her weekend was, what she got up to, and, well, what's been happening. It's a little tiny Mildred as well, a little baby that has come up onto this grass stem or little branch and is just kind of having a look at what's going on, and it was actually doing a bit of yoga basically. It was kind of had half its body up and out and it was just looking towards us. But these must be fairly new little ones that have just come out and emerged from the ground, because there's actually another one further down and they are absolutely tiny. If you look at them in comparison to me, I'm very, very kind of big in comparison to this. We've got a lot of them that are much bigger than this that we see and much more bulky than what we're seeing from these little guys. So these are tiny little ones that have come out. And of course it is the right time of year for these kind of things to come out. As soon as we get a bit of rain, that triggers these eggs to hatch, and these guys then come out and they start to move around and start to kind of go and look for vegetation that they're going to feed off. At the end of the day, these guys are little detritivores, which means that they go after all kinds of rotting vegetation, and so they're going to be cleaning up all the moribund and various leaves that have fallen through the winter months and take them into the soil and just help with processing of nutrients. They really are amazing little things. You can see all those legs as they're moving around. You see Mildred is saying hello to John Ray now. Just a little quick glance to the camera. Of course, you've got to show your best side, Mildred, when it is this time of the morning, and to make sure that you keep all your fans happy. Now, of course, there are lots of legs there. They're not millions of legs, so even though their name millipede means lots and lots of legs or millions of legs, they actually don't have that many. They've probably got a few hundred legs on there, but it is amazing to watch them as they move around. They're one of my favorite creatures. When you put them on your hand and and they walk, they've got this little sort of, it's almost a grip to them, but these little fine legs that go over, and it feels like a rough kind of brush that's going over you, but there's a little bit of power in them that actually grips, and it's amazing how strong those tiny little legs are. I really do enjoy having millipedes walking around. It's very, very cool. Right, now Noel's out, Taylor's out, and so I'm feeling a little outnumbered, but luckily for me, Scotty D has decided to come to the rescue and is also out and about in the Mara, and I'm sure he's got lots of wonderful stories to tell you from his adventures during the night.
Well, good morning everyone and welcome on board. My name is Scott, for those of you who have never met me, and I'm teamed up with Manu on camera. It is a cold morning in the Mara. Well, I guess colder than it's been for the last few weeks, and hoping that the sun manages to work its way through the clouds at some point sooner rather than later. Our plans are to search for cheetah, and in specific, initially we're going to be working in an area where we had 5 males yesterday, a coalition called the Musketeers, and they were about 15 minutes away from where we are here now, and they'd caught a young baby eland. It was quite a hectic sighting for those of you who are with us, and who knows what they got up to after that. We left them and went in search of a female cheetah that was also in the general area, but didn't have any luck with her. So that's the kind of plan for the start of the day. Once, and hopefully we find them, we'll assess their situation and then see if there aren't any other cheetah floating about. I'm guessing these guys aren't going to be too active this morning. Oh, let's have a quick look here. It looks like some zebras are having a bit of a tussle. Well spotted, Manu. They've just stopped, but let's see if they continue. They can be really ferocious animals, zebra. Don't be confused by, or fooled rather, by their dazzling appearance. They can be quite nasty. And at least these two are what seems like an equal match for one another. Sometimes the stallions attack the foals, and it is strange behavior, infanticide, and often not very easy to watch. Tayla showed me a clip the other day of a horrible, horrible scene of a stallion trying to drown a foal, and the poor mother was trying to do her best to deter the stallion, but with not much joy. Another thing I forgot to discuss yesterday, for those of you who saw that zebra with a massive chunk of its bottom flopping about, it also could have been a zebra attack. They do bite one another and can cause quite a lot of damage. As you can see, they're trying to bite one another there. Always difficult to know whether animals are kind of play fighting, practicing for a serious bout, or if in fact it's just the initial stages. Others don't seem too concerned about the situation. What a beautiful scene. Now, there are still lots of wildebeest in the area. You can see a whole bunch of black dots in the background beyond these zebra. And what's interesting, I've been chatting with quite a lot of the guides who are local here and have spent many years here, and they say that this is the first year that they've seen this many wildebeest remain in the Mara ecosystem. So it's quite a fascinating time to be around. And this herd has basically slowly but surely lost the area where they used to migrate to. This was a herd called the Loiter herd that migrate through the Loiter Hills to the east of us. And that area has been slowly, or maybe not slowly, fairly quickly developed over the last few years, and now they've decided to stay here, which is really, really interesting and something that we can't hide from. It's obviously sad that they've lost their home, but it is a reality of this world that we live on, and that on this world that us humans are so rapidly populating. So it'll be really interesting to see what they get up to. You know, we're going to essentially have this permanent little well, it won't be a migration if it's permanently here, but what used to be a migratory herd now camping out here permanently, which means we could get to see some incredible things. We can expect to see a lot of the wildebeest in this area calving in the next few months. The predators are certainly going to be happy about the situation, because it's just a lot more food for them to choose from. Now, just like yesterday, our plan is to spend the whole day out here and hopefully try and get as much time spent with cheetah as possible. This will be my last day across the side of the river before I head back to South Africa. So essentially it'll be the last time I spend time with cheetah for probably the next 3 or 4 months, which is a sad thought, but really am looking forward to heading down to Djuma and doing some bushwalks down there. That's going to be my plans for the coming months. Well, speaking of bushwalk, which I'm so excited to take you all on, you have the joy of now going and chatting about some of the smaller things with Tristan.
Indeed, Scott, this is one of the best things about being on Bushwalk is spotting all of these little things that are in the grass. Now, I apologize if there's a bit of wind. It's just kicked up in the last few minutes. But what we've got here is a Mutilidae of some sort. So it's a wasp that we've got, and it's obviously just emerged from wherever it's come from. I can't find an egg casing anywhere. I can't find a nest of a wasp anywhere. But it's definitely a very new wasp. It's just sitting. The wings itself actually haven't expanded and dried just yet. So that's why it's still sitting like this. It's waiting for the sun to come out so that it can start to dry those wings before it's able to then start flying. So it's in a state of compromise at the moment. Unfortunately, it just has to sit on this grass stalk, wait for the sun to get a little higher, and you'll find that the wings will actually expand quite a bit more than what they are right now. As blood is going into, or lymph is going into these wings, so they'll come out a little bit. You'll find a situation where the dryness and the heat of the sun will get those wings to set a little bit better, and they'll then be able to fly with them. But it is a beautiful species of wasp. It's got this white sort of abdomen area with a little stinger coming out, and then these black and yellow markings that go forward towards the thorax and then onto the head. It's got a nice big eye as well, so it should be a fairly easy wasp to identify at some point. I'll try and have a little look when I get back this afternoon, but it's definitely the first time that I've actually seen one of these with that cream colored backside like that. So it would be easy to probably identify if I can find just one of them in the book. I mean, at the end of the day, it's got a nice little black ring on the bum as well, so it should be fairly interesting. But it's amazing how much life there actually is. You know, we always talk about summer and we talk about how after rain a lot of life does come, and I always kind of, you know, you drive along and you don't see as much, but if you just stop and you walk around, there's so many little things just hiding on the grass at the moment. And especially after this little cold snap that we've had with a bit of rain, I reckon we're going to see lots and lots and lots of emerging insects over the next few weeks. I think we're going to find that our insect numbers are about to exponentially increase. Now, while I'm sitting here looking at our little wasp, I've also spotted a little fly over here as well. It looks like one of the biting flies. So these are the guys that irritate us massively over the sort of course of summer. When you're sitting in a sighting with various other sort of animals, you'll often find, particularly lion and leopard, that these guys are around, and they're the ones that will sit on you and they basically sting you effectively, and it feels like an increase in pressure to the point where it's like somebody pushing a needle into your skin. It is a horrible, horrible feeling. But again, it's the same thing that is happening with this wasp, is that insects are susceptible to temperature, and so they really struggle when it's cold. It slows them right down. It's why people often who have photographed insects in the past used to put them in fridges just to try and get them to kind of slow down a little bit. And so they sit on little plants just like this, and they wait until such time as the sun is up and it can warm them. And it's much like birds waiting for thermals, or reptiles like crocodiles and monitor lizards and snakes trying to get some sort of sun's rays to warm them up to then be active. And so this is the best time to look for insects, is early in the morning. If you go around and you just check little grass stems, you'll find a number of insects that are sitting on them just waiting for the sun to be able to get going. But how cool is that? It just goes to show, if you just stand and look, you'll be able to find things. Right, well, we're going to try and see if we can head through this little thicket. It's amazing how much thicker this has gotten in the last few days, because I remember driving past here about a week ago, and none of these trees, particularly things like this terminalia, which you can see is just starting to bud now, so there's a few little leaves starting to come onto it. These were all completely bare, and so it was a lot easier to actually see in here. So we're going to have to just keep our wits about us as we cross this little section, because it is quite thick in here. And while we do that, we're going to go back to Tayla Mac, who I believe is now starting to utilize, well, I suppose her legs, but not in the same way that I am, as she starts to negotiate the Mara with her foot on the pedal as she moves around and sees what else she can find.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't quite copy what Tristan had actually said to me, but that's okay. It probably wasn't important knowing Tristan. Right, so we're slowly on our way towards Little Governor's, where we will then take a right, and then we will follow a grassy track all the way around back to where we were yesterday. So we're a little way out, but we'll get there eventually, and who knows what we might see along the way. I don't know actually how our birding warning is going to go, unfortunately. Sorry, let me just tuck my cable back in my cap, because it's exceptionally windy this morning, so I think the things with feathers are going to have a hard time flying. Actually, even butterflies, dragonflies, flies, yay for the flies, hopefully struggling to fly around. It's not going to be particularly nice. I think we're in for a very much a coastal day today. That's what the weather is here in Kenya, and particularly in the Mara. It's so up and down, 4 seasons in one day. It's crazy, but it's beautiful at the same time though. So I see a couple of vehicles also starting off their search, heading in sort of an easterly direction. Similar plan to us. Is that a lion? I see something. Can you see what I'm talking about, Jar? To the right of that shrub, that big tree where that car was, but it's now gone past, but the tree on the left, there's 2. And there's, yes, I see lions. In fact, they are. To the left, next one, here we go. Up on that ridge is some lions. Good thing to get the eyes working in the morning. Shall we go and investigate? Looks like females. It's very, very far away, as you can see, though, like exceptionally far away. How great are my eyes? I just need to, I'm impressed with myself this morning, actually. Yay, I'm so happy they're working properly again. I was really worried about them at one point. Better tell Tristan I'm talking about my eyes, because he'll love that. Okay, let's go all the way. It's going to take us a while to get there, but we'll get there eventually. Just trying to think what our best routes. I suppose we'll just go through towards the airstrip, and we should hopefully find them. I'm not sure if there's a road that runs there though. Now, good morning, Kevin. Thank you for your question. You were wondering at what age are male lions normally ousted from their pride. It depends. Sometimes they can stay on to up to about 3 years old, but it's normally between 2.5 and 3 years, somewhere around there roughly. And you know, if the males aren't visiting regularly, say they've got lots of other prides to see to, they could end up staying a bit longer. Some males are more tolerant of others. So again, it depends, but anywhere around there. We've been seeing so many young males lately. I've actually seen more young sort of nomadic males than I have seen, no, that's a lie, not females, but big, fully grown males. Unless it's the same boys that I just keep seeing and they all look the same. There's also a possibility. I suspect that these might be the Olololo females, or the Chitwa Timber Pride, because we're near the airstrip. So we'll go and investigate, and then we will go back the other way around, because we've got to go past them anyway. Only thing, actually no, I'm just trying to think if we're even going to see them. There they are. I don't think we're actually going to see them from that side, because the road runs on the other side of those trees, which is going to be a bit of a problem. So I think we might just have to have a very quick look at them from here, as we're not going to be able to get to them. Yeah, it looks like the 3 girls. There might be a 4th lioness laying somewhere just out of the way. And there they sit watching. Unfortunately, we're in a non-off-roading area, so I can't just go driving straight towards them like I normally would do. And they don't seem to be too full. I don't know. It's a bit hard to tell from this distance. I can't see any particularly bulging bellies or dirty faces and paws. So maybe they were unsuccessful in their attempts at catching something last night, although it would have been a good night though, because the clouds came over, so it would have gone quite dark. It's very far away, unfortunately, and it's very, very windy as well, so the camera's going to be jumping around. Bye, lionesses, thank you for coming. But see, that's Scott. You know what the most ridiculous thing about this camp is that we all take after, no ways, have we got 4 black rhino here? 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Surely. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do. Wow. This is the most black rhino I've ever seen in there. And they're a lot closer than the lions, let me tell you that. That is incredible. The most I've ever seen together was 7 down on the Sabi sand. But I think this is pretty good considering the populations in the Mara are not particularly grand. That's fantastic. Is this a record? What is the most rhino in one sighting that has been seen on Safari Live, and particularly here in the Mara? This is very nice. Let's try and figure out what's going on. The one on the right-hand side seems to be very interested. And I don't know if it's a female. Can we have a closer look so I can just try and identify the ones on the right? Yes, that pair, because I think is a male and a female there. I don't know. It's so far away. Let's see. Because that one was smelling the other one. But now they've obviously standing in a position that's made it particularly difficult for me to try and sex these rhinos. It's not very easy, even if you're just looking at them from the front end. You really have to rely for them to turn or lift their tails. You can obviously see the bits that make it a man, or sometimes you can see the udders of a female. If she doesn't have a calf, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, because obviously won't be filled with milk. But very cool. That looks like a male. I think that's a boy there. And then, it's not, even though black rhino are territorial, both male and female mark and defend territories, I'm now starting to realize, I think these creatures are actually a lot more social than we think, and we just don't capture them interacting with one another. He's actually marking his territory on the right now. He just urine sprayed, which is quite spectacular, the one further to the right. He's got his tail curled up at the moment, so they'll actually spray urine back. So what I was saying is, I don't think we capture their interactions. I mean, David Attenborough got he captured some amazing footage of, I can't remember how many black rhinos it was. I think it was in Etosha, all coming down and interacting around a waterhole, which you can understand because a waterhole is a common source, so territories would overlap. Now, Paula, you're wondering if it is common for rhinos to move around in groups. It's more common for white rhinos. You'll sometimes see females grouping together with their offspring. It's not as common with the black rhinos, but now I can't tell you how many times I've seen black rhinos in groups and moving around with one another. So like I said, I think it's the more and more we're out here and we sit and we experience these unusual things, I think we're gonna start saying otherwise. Remember, what's written in books is just one person or 2 or 3 people's experiences, and it all depends on a particular area. So behavior is not just unique to an individual, it's actually area specific, or area and then of course species specific. So the black rhino up here might act slightly different. I don't think so though. They're now doing exactly what's happened in the Sabi sand. So maybe this is a common point where a few different rhinos, male and female territories, perhaps overlap one another, and they all just happened to be in this area. Maybe there's a female coming into estrus, and the boys are getting quite excited and they're picking up on her scent, because she'll also mark and defend territory. So she'll be leaving dung, she'll be leaving urine, and this will be very, very attractive to the males. And maybe that's the big dominant bull. I haven't seen any others scent marking, so there might be some young males in here, and he could tolerate them. Maybe they're not ready to be mated with. Maybe there's already been an argument between them and they've established dominance. There we go, you see he's marking again. They've established dominance amongst one another, and there's no need to have another dispute. But, of course, I can't see with all the shrubs around it being quite far away how many males, how many females are within this group of 4. But it's very, very interesting seeing things like this. It is amazing. And I think we mustn't take sightings like this for granted. And I've been the worst guide for the last 2 days because I keep leaving my notebook in my room. I work on it and then I forget to take it out on safari with me. And it's very important that you do take notes of things like this and where you've seen them, because maybe you can have a similar, encounter. Okay, so we know that's a big bull. I mean, he's a lovely size. He's marking. His tip of his horn is even been knocked off. So I think that just goes to show that he has been in a couple of battles before. Off he goes. And then, can we have a look at that one on the right there? I just want to see, no, the one that we were just on. Yeah, I just want to see now that they've got their bot. That's a female. So there we go. 1 male, 1 female. And then we'll have to just wait for the others to come out around so we can actually see who they are. This is so cool. And this is a particularly good area for black rhino. We see them often. Come on, who else has got their bottoms towards us? That's another female. That's a big girl too. So 2 adult females by the looks of it. Now we just need to get what the sex of the third unknown rhino, who has now disappeared down into the drainage line, I think. So I wonder what's gone on here. It's either going to be a sub-adult male, it could be the offspring of one of the females, because we know that there is a female that's hanging around with a young male, which is obviously her calf, her older calf. Let's see, very, very interesting though. And there's a car driving on the back, so that's just outside the reserve. You know, they're just munching on all the little shrubs there, so they're not eating grass, even though it looks like it when he sticks his head in the ground. It's actually on the little shrubs. Now, Jody, you're wondering if rhinos have harems. So no, it's not like, for instance, a group of zebra where you'll have a stallion and his favorite mares that live around with him. That's not the case. So like I said, male and female black rhinos mark and defend territory. So they live solitary. However, on occasion, it has been recorded, as we're seeing now, where you will see groups of black rhino. Like I said, the most I've ever seen was in the southern Sabi sand, and there was 7 black rhino together. It was a combination of males, females with youngsters, and sub-adult males. So obviously much the older calves, the second generation from the females that have got the younger calves. That's what I would imagine. Or it's just some boys that have been wandering around by themselves and maybe joined up for companionship. Remember, that's those years, first few years after being kicked out from mom's side, when the new calf is born, it'll probably take them a bit of adjustment. So they might be looking to socialize until they realize the way of life and the way of the black rhino. And then I said with the white rhinos, they tend to be a bit more social, but again, there's no harem. A male will mark and defend territories. They're constantly on patrols, you know, re-establishing their territories and scent marking. Rhinos, both species, are very, very big on scent marking. And he will pass through, and if he sees a female, or if he picks up on a female scent and she's coming into estrus, he'll stop his territorial patrol and he will pursue that female and then try and court her for a little bit. So no harems, a completely different social structure to what we see with impala, with zebra, and even to an extent with wildebeest too. So very, very different, but very cool to see. Wow. It seems as though these rhino are disappearing into the bushes now. They're going further away, which is pretty spectacular, though. I hope you enjoyed this. This is one for the books. Our dear friend Scott on the other side of the river has lived up to his nickname, and he's managed to find his spotted friends.
Well, this is a first for me. I've never seen Mayali and her son before. And the son is the one closer to us. He's got a slightly bigger head and still a bit of a fluffy mane. But she's got quite a skinny face. She's looking a little bit grumpy this morning. And he's keeping a close eye on some Cape buffalo that have no idea of their presence, and they're not going to be too concerned about cheetah. If anything, they may just chase them off. And what a wonderful start it is to the day. Exciting stuff with Tayla, lions, 4 black rhino. Now some cheetah. The safari is certainly getting off to a wonderful, wonderful start. Now, it's hard to tell how hungry these guys are from the way they're positioned. But I think we are certainly going to stick around and wait to see if they don't decide to get up a little bit later. And I've noticed a lot with the females. I mean, it's just a very vague, not heavily researched theory, but I've got a feeling that they kind of like to take the mornings a little bit easier and are more active during the hotter parts of the day. Of course, I've never spent time with this individual, so hard to be certain, and they always do change up their schedule to keep us on our toes. He looks like he's a similar age to Malaika's cub, so I'd guess around, at the moment, probably 19, 20 months of age. But that is just a guess. If any of you would like to double check that, you're more than welcome. I would appreciate your assistance. I'm not sure also too much about Mayali, how old she is. I don't know a whole bunch about her. So it'll be interesting to learn a little bit about this individual. What I've really found fascinating is how many cheetah are in this area at the moment. And OSL, I couldn't agree with your comment more. You say these are the sports cars of the cat kingdom, and they certainly are, not only in their physical speed, but I feel also in their looks. I wanted to just reposition quickly. We'll get some cool two shots of the buffalo walking past the cheetah, and then you'll have a better idea of what that young boy is keeping his beady eyes on. So as you can see, there's a number of them, but at the moment they're unaware of the cheetah's presence. The wind is blowing from the buffalo towards the cheetah, so they're not going to pick up any scent of them. And even if they do, I don't think they're going to be hugely bothered. They know cheetah aren't much of a threat to them, so they may either overlook them or possibly chase them off just because they don't really like any cats. Now, speaking of chasing things around, there's a few other interesting things that may unfold in the scene. There's a flock of helmeted guinea fowl approaching from the right. They could end up letting off their loud alarm call and parading after the cheetah. We've had some great sightings of guinea fowl giving cheetah a hard time, so that's one thing that may happen. And then another variable is that the cheetah themselves may end up actually chasing some breakfast around. There's some breakfast at our 1 o'clock. Now, I can see also a massive herd of topi running in our direction, and I wonder what's working them up. It looks like a herd with lots of youngsters, and what we saw yesterday when the Musketeer Coalition came in on the scene, I was incredibly impressed by the topi mothers' ability to move their youngsters away from any possible threats. So we must just keep our eyes peeled and make sure that the Musketeer Coalition don't come charging over the horizon. You can see they're all looking back from whence they've come. And that gives us a good idea of where the predators are. Oh, the guinea fowl are on cue. They found the cheetah. And the alarm bells ring out. How cool. What a wonderful sound. Hello, Jacqueline. You'd like to know if cheetah can sleep with their heads up? Yes, they can. They've got an interesting ability to be able to kind of perch their head on top of their shoulders in what looks like to be an uncomfortable position, but they make it work for themselves. So they kind of do. They're always sleeping with one eye open, essentially, as they are concerned for other predators that may come in onto the scene. Now, I am convinced that we need to go and work out what is chasing this family of topi. I think it's definitely going to be worth checking out. We're going to have some great views of them running off silhouetted, taking their youngsters away from harm's way. I'm just fearful leaving these cheetah, but they look fairly comfortable for now. And I really do think there could be some kind of a threat that's causing these topi to move out of that area. They keep looking back in that direction, so let's shoot off there and see if we can't work out what it is. Can't believe we're leaving the cheetahs getting mobbed by guinea fowl, but I would be hugely surprised if there's not another predator here. Woohoo! Hold on, everybody. Oh, some holes. Hey, chop. Still got Manu. That's good. What has scared you guys? Could have been a leopard or lion. I'm just hoping for cheetah. I've got cheetah on the brain. Manu can see something. He's standing up behind me. Yes, this is a bit of a Ferrari safari, hopefully leading us to the Ferraris of the wilderness.
Hello! Okay, so in the interim from when we saw each other last, Senzo and I have picked up on ridiculously fresh male leopard tracks, and we've been pulling tiny little circles, trying to find, and then Senz could smell the insides of a kill, and we could hear hyenas. The problem is that we can't find the track. I've lost the tracks now, so we're busy trying to pinpoint using smell with wind that keeps changing, and with listening as well, and then also just checking. So remember yesterday we had Shadow, and she had her kill and it was on the ground, and it was taken by hyenas. So what I'm thinking is that with the hyena activity, with the smell that we're getting, with the tracks that we're getting, that hopefully he's hoisted. Now, Senzo's guesstimating, because he's been here longer than I have, he would know that this is probably Tingana, and as we know, Tingana likes to show himself for a little bit and then he sort of disappears. So it's entirely possible he's been watching me the whole time and he's just laughing. We're just meandering a little bit and seeing if we can pinpoint more precisely where all of our sounds and smells and tracks and everything is heading into. We are getting a bit of a cloud cover again, so it means the wind's picking up. So we're using all of our senses to the best of our abilities, I should say. Because remember, tracking's not just about the actual tracks you see, it's about all the signs and anything else that can come into the picture. So for instance, if this male was busy scent marking, his urine trail that he leaves smells a little bit like buttered popcorn. So he'll go up, I know many of you have probably seen it before, he'll go and he'll put his bum end towards a tree or a bush and he'll spray a little bit of urine, and that urine smells like buttered popcorn. Well, at least to me it smells like buttered popcorn. But we're on a little bit of a crest, and the reason why I say that is we've got lots of marula trees here. We've got a lot of good places for hoisting, but again, just because it is a good place for hoisting doesn't mean they're going to hoist, as we saw yesterday. But we're gonna slowly bumble in here. And again, leopards show you when they want to be seen. And if Tingana does not want to be seen today, then who knows. But we're going to keep trying. And while we're busy with that, Tristan has another indicator of what could possibly be a dead animal, or possibly just be resting in the cool morning. A nice big bird to show you just on the other side of Djuma.
Well, we do. We have a hooded vulture that is sitting precariously placed on a rather, it doesn't look like the most comfiest of branches, but it's because we disturbed it. So we're in the area where Shadow had her kill yesterday. These are all the vultures that are sort of here from last night. A lot of them have already flown away because we obviously walked in. And it's interesting to always come to a carcass the next day, because you find a lot of things that you potentially you didn't really think you would find. And it's amazing to watch the process of this impala that was whole yesterday morning, pretty much whole. It's 2 days ago, and living, to the fact that it's now pretty much nothing left. And so far, all we've found, we found some stomach content, which we saw yesterday where Shadow was eating the lining. But what we have found, which is really very, very cool, and something we don't see that often, is over here is where Shadow went to the toilet last night. Now, we actually were here with her when she went to the toilet. She had a big kind of dung log, if you want to call it, that was left here. You can see some of her tracks are all over this area where she actually defecated. Now, this defecation was a long cylindrical tube, but you can see that it now has been broken up and has been moved around a bit, and that's because of these fellas. Now, you see there's a whole bunch of them that are walking around on here. Now, these are called carcass beetles, or this sort of family name is Omorgus beetles, and these guys basically feed off rotting flesh or the dung of predators, so it's not uncommon to find them feeding off the dung of a predator, and this dung in particular is still very, very fresh. It was made only yesterday, and what these guys are doing is they're going to feed off it. They're also going to mate on it. So just now we had two beetles that were mating together. They will then mate, and they'll bury down and lay their larvae right near these dung piles, and then the larvae can also feed off it. It's really quite amazing to see. These carcass beetles are not something that we see that often, and in fact the first time I ever actually saw them and noticed them was at the hyena den a few weeks ago, and since then a lot of kind of chatter has been going on, and a lot of you have helped me on Twitter with this, but we managed to kind of work out that these guys are around quite a bit, and it was amazing to see them, and eventually that pile of dung will be completely removed, which will be absolutely amazing. Right, now we're going to carry on looking for Shadow now that we're in the area, and while we do that, I believe Scotty D, who the cheetah man of Africa really, has found himself another two cheetah this morning, and it sounds like they're getting ready to hunt.